For the past 17 years, the Volvo XC60 has always been a comfortable, a luxurious, but of course, above all, a safe entry if you guys are looking for a compact, European-style luxury SUV. However, when Volvo introduced the all-new second generation back in 2017, they really essentially created just a scaled-down miniature version of the very popular and top-selling XC90. And for 2022, the company made some pretty big updates. So as you can see this week, we are testing out the pinnacle of the XC60 family. This right here is a 2025 XC60 T8 plug-in hybrid Polestar engineered. As you guys know, Polestar is the performance arm within Volvo that essentially creates hot-rodded versions of most of their smaller vehicles. And with a T8 powertrain under the hood delivering up to 455 horsepower and upgraded brakes, upgraded suspension, and upgraded steering, this is not only the quickest accelerating XC60 in the family, but it's also the best handling. So if you guys are looking for a European compact luxury SUV that can go toe-to-toe with your neighbor's Porsche Macan or BMW X3, how does the latest version of the XC60 T8 Polestar engineered stack up? Stay tuned to find out. So it's been a while since I've actually had an XC60 to test for you guys for a full week, and because this is the Polestar engineered version, I'm going to start with what's going on underneath the hood. Now this is where I thought the XC60 had a unique engine if you had a Polestar engineered model. However, you can essentially get this T8 powertrain on other versions, but it's still one of the most powerful production engines you're going to find in this compact luxury SUV space. Now underneath the hood here, you're going to see a transverse mounted 4-cylinder. It's a 2-liter turbocharged gasoline direct injection 4-cylinder. This engine got a huge upgrade back in 2022 where Volvo essentially lopped off the supercharger, but they also significantly upgraded the electric motor. So we have 2 electric motors, one at the front and a more powerful unit at the rear axle. The gas engine on its own delivers 312 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. The electric motor delivers around 143 horsepower at the rear, plus another 46 horsepower in the front electric motor that's sandwiched between the engine and that 8-speed automatic transmission. The combined output, Volvo says, is 455 horsepower and 523 pound-feet of torque. That is the most powerful entry if you're looking for a plug-in hybrid powertrain in the compact luxury SUV space. It all goes out through an 8-speed automatic transmission built by Aisin, so it's built in Japan. The electric motor draws its power from an 18.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack. Around 15 of that is usable. That's a nice upsize versus the 9 kilowatt-hours that was usable in the earlier renditions of the T8 powertrain when this car first came out. Volvo quotes the 0 to 60 time at around 4.7 seconds. You should also be able to go around 114 miles an hour for a top speed. Electric-only range is around 36 miles, and this vehicle has also an 18.8-gallon fuel tank, among the largest you're going to find for a plug-in hybrid luxury SUV, which means you can go around 520 miles of range on a full tank. Total range could be right around 550 miles, of course, depending on how you drive. Towing capacity for this model is around 3,500 pounds, and as this vehicle sits, this is the heaviest version of the XC60, weighing in at around 4,700 pounds. So it's heavy, but it's certainly not as heavy as some other competitors as well that don't necessarily have as big of a battery pack. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here, which, as you can see, the hood opens up in a huge manner to allow access into that engine bay. But closing the hood, talking about the exterior styling, you know what? Even though this vehicle has been around since 2018, I actually think that this vehicle, just like the XC90, has aged extremely well. I mean, we waited a long time, well over 10 years actually, or nearly 10 years, for Volvo to introduce an all-new second-generation XC60. And when it came out in 2018, it was definitely one of the best-looking vehicles. In 2025, I still think this is an attractive-looking car. You can see my test car is painted in this beautiful shade called Vapor Gray Metallic. It was a new color introduced a couple of years ago. In fact, if you're looking for a Polestar engineered model, you can only take your pick between either white, black, silver, or this gray color. So only 4 exterior colors. You can see all Polestar engineers come with the Thor's Hammer full LED headlights, which also include an LED daytime running light and turn signal. These are also swiveling adaptive headlights. You can see their projector style. You have this very nice looking Volvo grille with the new logo, of course, this very subtle Polestar engineered badge with the gloss black, which I also really appreciate. The front fascia got a slightly more sculpted look to it, but it also did lose its fog lights when they refreshed it in 2022. You also have some active openings there, active grille shutters, and some nice intakes of course, to allow air to pass through for that engine. It's going to need that cooling, of course, but overall, in this vapor gray exterior color with all the black accents, this is still a surprisingly attractive SUV in my eyes, even though there's a lot of new competitors that have been flooding the space. Now, moving around the side profile, this is the company's compact luxury SUV, which means you have a 112.8-inch wheelbase with a 185.4-inch overall length. This is about the same size as something like an Audi Q5 or a BMW X3 or a Porsche Macan, a little bit bigger versus like a Lexus NX, but also around the same size as like an Acura RDX. You can see the suspension on the Polestar engineered model has its own Öhlend dampers. So it's a fixed suspension with adaptive adjustable strut towers, which you can actually adjust underneath the hood here. And you can see these are the gorgeous 22-inch wheels for an extra $800 with this kind of forged look with the double 5-spoke design. With the machine look and of course the gloss black inserts. It's riding on a 265 by 35 ZR22 Pirelli P0 summer tire. These are $800 extra. If you guys don't want the 22s, the 21-inch wheel basically looks like this, but it's an inch smaller. I would probably just go with that because it'll give you more sidewall protection. The brakes, massive 15.7-inch cross-drilled rotors, and you also have a 6-piston Akebono Swedish gold painted caliper. So that's going to give you some serious stopping power. To go with, again, the upgraded handling that you get with this model. I also love the kind of full paint finish that you get with the Polestar engineer. It certainly makes it look a lot more upscale. And you can see right here, this is where you plug the vehicle in. It has just a standard J1772 plug. There's a 3.7 kilowatt onboard charger. Like I said earlier, 36 miles of all electric range. When you plug this in on a level 2, Volvo says it'll take roughly 5 hours to go from 0 to 100%. So it's a little bit of a slow charge considering it's got that bigger battery pack. I would have liked to see Volvo basically double the capacity of that onboard level 2 charger. Now you can see mirrors, black painted, they're also power folding. You have no chrome along the belt line, which I really appreciate. There's also a nice gloss black, low paint, low profile roof rail. That panoramic glass style sunroof is also standard on the Polestar engineered, which lets in a lot of light. It's good because it's an all black interior. And then looking at this angle here, this is probably one of the most attractive looking SUVs, at least for me, from this angle here. Love the way the wheels look with the body lines. It just looks modern, it looks sophisticated, it looks timeless, and Volvo did a fantastic job with the exterior design. Now looking at the rear, you can see you have the signature very tall, full-length LED LED taillights that Volvos are known for that go up the A-pillar. You can see there an LED daytime or LED turn signal, LED reverse lights, LED brake lights. You can see badging back here is all chrome. I believe you could also black out the badging if you guys go to the dealership. There's a subtle Polestar engineered badge there to show you have the performance oriented model. And then you can see no visible exhaust tips. I think Volvo got rid of those when they refreshed it, but the sculpted rear diffuser certainly looks attractive. I would have liked to see perhaps a slightly more enthusiastic rear spoiler at the back. The rear wiper is just kind of sitting there at the window. It would have been nice if it was hidden underneath the rear spoiler. But then looking at the cargo area, obviously a power liftgate is included. And the XC60 offers pretty average amounts of storage space. You're looking at around 32 cubic feet of total storage space with the seats up. No third row, obviously. Buy an XC90 if you want that. You can see there's a little bit of storage to the side here. And if you look underneath here, there's your mobile charger. The 12-volt battery lives underneath here. There's also a fix-a-flat kit. There's no actual spare tire. If you want to fold down those seats, which you can't fold it from back here, but if you have long enough arms, you could essentially push that and just push that forward. When you push that forward, it creates almost a completely flat floor, which is nice. And Volvo says there's around 63.6 cubic feet of total storage space, which is a pretty decent amount. That's going to be more versus something like a Lexus NX, for example, but you might find a little bit more in something like a BMW X3. So the outside of the latest version of the XC60 Polestar engineered is certainly still an attractively styled vehicle, but what about the interior? This is where Volvo could have made some updates this year, but it's certainly still a nice place to spend time. Before we get inside the vehicle, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the current intelligent access key that comes on most brand new Volvos. There was a time where Volvo used to wrap this key in the same interior leather material as the inside of your specific car. Obviously, that's no longer the case. It's just covered in a kind of cheapy black plastic with the Volvo logo. It has the buttons on the side here for lock, unlock, power liftgate, and your panic function. No remote start from the fob, but I imagine if you have access to the Volvo Connected Services app, you should be able to access the vehicle there. Now, as you can see, as I approach the door handle, it's a traditional door handle. If I touch that, You can see the doors will lock, the mirrors will also electrically fold. If you touch the back of the door handle, that unlocks the door for you, and it's a traditional pull style handle, so it doesn't have like the digital latch handles that you might find on some competitors. Now, I hope you guys like a black interior, because this is the only interior color combination you can get with the Polestar Engineered. Volvo offers a beautiful blonde leather and an amber, like brownish leather, but you can only get those if you step down into one of the other luxury-oriented trims like the Ultra, for example, and that's where Volvo also gives you the option of ventilated seats and a massage seat function for an extra upcharge. This model here, as you can see, just has heated seats with this kind of black Napa leather with the contrast stitching and this kind of cloth textile that you see along the bolsters. The cloth seats are designed to kind of, or the cloth bolstering here is designed to kind of hold you in place a little bit better. You also have a more aggressive seat bolstering. You can see these. You have an extendable thigh cushion here. The seats adjust in, I don't even know, like 14 different ways. But the fact that Volvo doesn't offer a lighter interior color or even a red color, a dark cranberry red would look fantastic with this vapor gray exterior, and ventilated seats I think should be included. What I do like, however, are the gold Swedish gold seat belts, which are actually also in the back seat area. It certainly adds a nice pop of color, but it would be nice if Volvo would offer a little bit more interior color options when you want to go for the most handling dynamic version. Now you can see the door panel has a soft touch injection molded plastic here with a nice graining material. You have real metal for the door handles, which this feels nice and sturdy. You have the upgraded Bowers & Wilkins stereo, which is typically $3,200. It's standard on the Polestar Engineered with the metal speaker covers. You have more of that textile cloth over here on the door panel with this padded leather. Window controls feel really high quality. They're one touch up and down for all four. More leather over here, and it's also even soft padded down here along with some additional door storage. I also would have liked to see the pedals in aluminum. That would have been also a nice touch. But overall, the interior still makes a really great first impression. And once I get inside, you can see this vehicle, I believe, has around 7-ish inches of ground clearance. So you have a really nice, easy step-in height when I shut the door. The door also has a pretty solid sounding thunk. Remember, this is built off of the SPA SPA architecture, the SPA 1 platform. There's a newer SPA 2 platform on the EX90, however. Now, starting the vehicle up, you can see the start-stop is actually a toggle here in the center console. If I put my foot on the brake and then toggle it to the right, that essentially turns the vehicle on. It has an all-digital 12.3-inch cluster that Volvo put on the vehicle back in 2022 with upgraded graphics. And you can see the steering wheel on the Polestar Engineered has a slightly thicker rim with some nice cross-stitching. I would have liked to see a steering wheel with a flat bottom design, maybe some Polestar Engineered badging. This would have made the steering wheel feel a little bit more special. But you do have some pretty nice materials here. You can see there's a nice textured aluminum trim going across the dash here. You have the tailored dashboard as well, where it has some genuine leather and contrast stitching on the actual upper portion, and on the lower portion here you have a soft touch injection molded plastic that looks good with the aluminum trim. The steering wheel, as you can see, lacks paddles. I'm surprised it doesn't have paddles to control the 8-speed auto. You do have just a manual tilt and telescoping steering column with some actual hard buttons here that are glossy black, along with the glossy black trim over here. The horn, it sounds pretty nondescript, but at least it doesn't sound puny. It sounds appropriate given the size of this vehicle with a nice tone to it. The window controls, or I'm sorry, the wiper and turn signal stalks have that typical Volvo high quality feel, which I love. And then over here you can see you still have the 9-inch Google-based infotainment system. Now, this system here does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but you have to connect it via a wired connection that you find here in the center console. No wireless CarPlay still. Even Volvo's newest system that you find in the EX90 still does not have wireless CarPlay, which will come in an over-the-air update. This, however, does have Google built in. If I click on that little icon there, you can see you can access the Google Play Store, the Google Assistant. Of course, you can download different apps like Spotify, like YouTube, for example, like Waze. You could put that into the actual native system. And if you guys want to go to just the map system, you can see it's Google built in, which is essentially the same map graphic you're going to see in your favorite computer, for example, or your computer at home, for example. This system is pretty much hasn't changed over the last couple of years. It's easy to use. The screen is starting to look a little bit small. Volvo has a new 11.2-inch display in the XC90. Would love to see the company add that for like a 2026 model year XC60, which would be nice. If I hit this little button here, you can see there's your full 360 camera, which gives you a top-down view if you'd like. It has parking sensors. It has rear cross-traffic braking, and the resolution and the quality is also pretty good. You can also look at your side view there to keep you from curbing those 22-inch wheels. But overall, you can see the smaller screen does make the actual camera display look a little bit odd at times, but At least it does have pretty good software behind it, especially compared to the earlier Sensus Connect systems of the earlier models. This is just much quicker, it's much snappier, and it works pretty well. Click on that, you can see you have a 3-level heated steering wheel and 3-level heated seats, but no cooled seats is available on this trim, which is very infuriating. You can see going to your climate control, you have a dual zone setup. You have actual toggles to control the airflow, which I very much appreciate. It also has a built-in cabin air filter, which most vehicles in the class have that. If you want to adjust your drive mode selector, sadly, Volvo did get rid of the actual switch here on the console. So now you have to go into settings and hit driving. You can see there's 5 different drive modes: hybrid, Polestar, pure, off-road, and constant all-wheel drive. Now in other versions of the XC60, you'll have a power mode there, but instead we have a Polestar tuned drive mode, which basically increases the power of the vehicle. It makes it feel even faster. It gives you more power instantaneously. That is one of the unique drive modes of the Polestar engineered trim. Off-road mode doesn't actually raise and lower the suspension because there's no air suspension, but I have the vehicle defaulting always to pure mode, which means it'll run in electric only until the battery is depleted. Most people also may put it in hybrid mode, which gives you a blend of both. Again, I would like to see Volvo keep the actual drive mode selector, but instead they've moved it into the screen here. You can basically just adjust the steering feel to be firm or not firm, but if you want to adjust the dampers for the suspension, you have to do that underneath the hood via that little toggle that allows you to switch that around. Now over here in the center console, you can see there's more aluminum trim. I would have liked to see this covered in leather, but it has a nice smooth feel to this plastic. You have an actual knob there to control the volume control. Piano black plastic here, electronic parking brake, the shifter. I love the crystal orifice shifter. You basically push up to go into reverse, kick it down to go to drive. There was a time where Volvo made you do this twice in sequence to put into reverse and drive. I like how they've now switched it to just one toggle, basically. Push the P button to go to park. There's a little bit of storage over here, nice sturdy lid for the cup holders, but you can see the cup holders a little bit small. You have a nice padded center console here with offers a decent amount of storage. Although the battery pack actually lives in between the 2 front seats here in this little area, so that's why this isn't quite as deep as a non-plug-in hybrid. You can see there's 2 USB-C charging ports there, which is nice. This is also at a really nice position. The seats are comfortable and supportive. They hold you in place nicely, but I just want Volvo to offer a different color and offer ventilation that should be standard. The Bowers & Wilkins stereo also sounds incredible. If you guys are an audiophile, you'll be happy to see how it's standard on this trim. Open this up, you can see big glove compartment, which is damped. It's lit up and it's lined with felt. Offers a really good amount of storage. You have a nice auto-dimming rearview mirror, which is frameless. You can also get a digital camera rearview mirror. There's also some beautiful LED accent lighting and LED map lighting, which has a really cool fade in and fade out feature. It also looks really upscale and high end. You can see the sunroof. If I flick that, you can see it actually opens up to vent air. It also will tilt, and you can see it only opens up over the 2 front seats, but you can kind of increase the size. That's the maximum that it'll open. And it certainly does a good job at letting in some nice light. But overall, the interior, as you can see, hasn't really changed much over the years. It has really good build quality. It has decent tech. It smells really expensive in here. It has comfortable seats, good visibility. And it's one of the key selling features of a lot of modern Volvo products is just how easy it is to live with on a daily basis and how comfortable it is. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area and show you guys what that space is like. Now, as you can see, Volvo says you get up to 38 inches of legroom back here in the second row, which is a pretty good amount. You can see the gold seat belts also carry over back into the rear seat. I also love how the center belt over there is also gold. There are some manufacturers that cheap out that give you a black rear seat belt instead of actually continuing on with the colored seat belts. The material quality back here is the same as the front. Soft touch, aluminum accented, textile cloth, padded leather. It's even soft touch down here where there's additional storage. Like I showed you guys earlier, you can basically fold the seat down and create a pretty flat load floor. However, if you want to recline the seat, sadly, Volvo doesn't allow you to recline the seats like in some competitors. But once I get back here, you can see the space. This is pretty much where I'd have the front seat to drive. When I shut the door, you can see there's plenty of foot space underneath there. I can easily get back here and cross my legs, which is nice. You can see this is also slightly raised because, like I mentioned earlier, the 18.8 kilowatt hour battery pack does live underneath the floor in this kind of center console area. You do have heated rear seats. You have a little storage here. You have 2 USB-C charging ports. You do have your rear seat air vents back here as well, along with 2 storage cubbies, which is nice. If you come over here to the center, there's an armrest that folds down. Your cup holders are right here and the actual head restraints. I like the leather here. It feels really nice and plush. And then looking at the headroom space, even though I have the panoramic glass roof, this also lets in a ton of light from this glass roof. It has pretty decent headroom space. The one thing it is missing, however, is retractable shades back here, but for the most part, it has most of the features that you expect in a vehicle that has this high of a price tag in the luxury SUV space. So even though I've had plenty of opportunities to drive this current second generation XC60, this is actually the first time that I've actually gotten a chance to spend a full week with the Polestar engineering version. As you guys know, if you see a Polestar badge on a Volvo, it usually means it's the most performance oriented, although Polestar is technically their own brand nowadays and they produce electric vehicles. But this is essentially, again, the most hot rod version of the XC60, the company's best-selling compact SUV. It's designed to go toe-to-toe with an AMG Light type of vehicle, a M Sport vehicle. And this model it comes standard with the T8 plug-in hybrid recharge powertrain, which means we have up to 455 horsepower from a turbocharged four-cylinder and a powerful electric motor. So let's go ahead and test out the 0 to 60 time. Oof! Oh, God, this thing is fast. Holy crap. 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. Now, I believe Volvo quotes this at 4.7 seconds, but oh my God, the beauty about this powertrain, it got a significant upgrade in 2022 where Volvo really upsized the battery pack. They got rid of the supercharger, but they enlarged or made the electric motor much more powerful in addition to enlarging the battery pack. But still, 4.4 seconds is pretty darn fast. I mean, this is going to keep pace with something easily like an Audi SQ5, which is technically slower than this vehicle, a BMW X3 M40i, which is the previous, there's a new generation that's coming out. That one could also do it in the mid to high 4-second range. This is absolutely smokes a Lexus NX 450h Plus, which takes about a second, a little over a second longer versus this vehicle. Let's try another run here. This time I won't brake torque it, we'll just floor it. It's still in the Polestar engineering drive mode. Oh! What I love about this powertrain is the fact that you basically just have instantaneous power, where typically there would be lag from a turbocharger. Because of the electric motor's instant power, it fills in the gaps of that turbocharger where it's trying to spool up. The supercharger's no more, but the gas engine on its own delivers 312 horsepower. The electric motor delivers 143 horsepower. That's where you get the 455 combined and 523 pound-feet of torque. This thing in Polestar engineering mode just has instantaneous thrust of an electric vehicle. When you put your foot down, you feel the electric torque push you, and then once the electric torque runs out, the gas engine has that time it needs to kick in to basically give you all of its power, and it's just a rush of power. It is absolutely incredible how fast this thing is. So it is bonkers sleeper fast when you're in the Polestar driving mode, which is absolutely fantastic. However, I want to test out this vehicle's acceleration in just pure EV mode, because obviously in EV mode it's only making 143 horsepower. When you switch it to pure EV mode, you basically just go into the drive mode there and switch it to pure. Now there is a kick down point at the end of the accelerator pedal where if you push it past that click down point, it's going to wake up the gas engine. So we're going to try our best to avoid doing that when we do our next 0 to 60 run in pure EV mode. But the XC60 Polestar engineering basically has the upgrades it needs to make this the best handling version of the XC60. The steering is very sharp, it's very direct, it has some good heft to it. You can adjust the steering feel. This is in firm. The suspension gets those aggressive Öhlend dampers, which you can adjust the firmness via a little dial that you find underneath the hood. You also have the upgraded brakes, nearly 16 inches in diameter. In pure mode here, you can see it actually will accelerate up to basically highway speeds in pure EV mode. It certainly feels considerably slower, but I like it in this mode because it's just quiet. There's no shifting, there's no engine noise, which by the way, the 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder actually doesn't sound too horrible. I was expecting it to sound, pretty bad, but it actually makes a pretty decent sound when you get it going. Even though, again, it's not going to be quite the noises that you expect from like a BMW turbo inline 6, but it's still pretty decent. Let's try another run here, 0 to 60 wise. Oof, goodness. It certainly can get up to 60 miles an hour, but again, I've got my foot to the floor here. Let's see if I can even make it to 60. Oh my gosh. 10.9 seconds there. Now again, I had my foot to the floor, but it wasn't completely past the kickdown point, because if I push it past the kickdown point, it's going to wake up the engine. But so that mode there in pure EV mode is about, I want to say about 1.5 seconds slower versus like a Lexus NX 450h Plus. Most of the times you're going to drive it in hybrid mode, like I have it in right now. When I put it in hybrid mode, it will favor the electric only a propulsion until you kind of push the accelerator past that little, looks like a little drop of water, and that's where it kind of wakes up the gas engine, and it kind of gives you the best of both worlds, because again, you get the instantaneous thrust of the electric motor, but then you also get the power of the gas engine when you need it, and that's where it's going to give you basically 3/4 of the rest of its power, and this thing feels amazingly impressive. I can't stress that enough. Even in the corners here, the suspension, this is going to be the firmest and best handling version of the XC60, and it definitely feels like it belongs in the same league as a GLC 43 AMG, as a Porsche Macan S, as a BMW X3 M40i. But this is a very unique option because, again, it's the most powerful plug-in hybrid that you're going to find, where you can actually get electric only range in a pretty good amount. We'll talk about that in just a moment. I actually have the transmission. This is an 8-speed auto, which offers really quick and seamless shifts. It's actually an ASIN transmission, so it's built in Japan. But when it's in pure EV mode, it actually functions as a direct drive transmission. You don't feel any shifting. It just kind of gives you the instantaneous torque that you expect from an electric motor. And when you put it into B, which is the engine braking drive mode, it actually does a really good job of giving you some pretty aggressive regen braking, to where it's not a full one-pedal drive function, but it almost feels pretty similar. It doesn't bring you down to a full stop, but it's nice when you're in stop-and-go traffic, when you're driving around town. This thing feels like a fully electric vehicle, but when you put your foot down, it wakes up that gas engine and it feels really strong. Now, I will say there is a little bit of hesitation in hybrid mode, but when you put it into Polestar engineered mode, that hesitation goes away and this thing just rockets to 60, and like you saw, in under 4.5 seconds. But let's go ahead and talk about the range of this vehicle. So I'm going to put it back into pure mode so we have basically no engine noise. Now, in terms of fuel efficiency, in my week's worth of testing, I averaged around 27 mpg in mostly mixed driving, a mixture of city and highway. That's when I had the battery depleted and I was just driving it mostly in hybrid mode. That's actually a pretty good amount, decent mpg, but you're going to get roughly 5 mpg better in a Lexus NX plug-in hybrid that has a non-boosted engine. It's going to be obviously a little bit more efficient. That doesn't surprise me. In terms of electric only range, on a full charge, this car was showing around 40 miles of electric only range. It's rated at 36, and I actually was able to get 40 miles in my actual real world testing, which is very impressive. That's basically among the best you're going to find. An NX 450h Plus, again, will also do closer to 40 miles of range. So the two vehicles are pretty neck and neck. Keep in mind, this vehicle has an 18.8 kilowatt hour battery pack, and it also has an 18.8 gallon fuel tank. So it's among the biggest gas tank you're going to find for plug-in hybrids, which means this thing will easily do over 500 miles of range on a full tank, plus the 40 miles. So you're looking at 540 to 550-ish miles of range on a full tank. That's among the best in the class. So if you guys are comparing this to a fully electric SUV, those are going to do at best around 300 miles. This can easily do almost twice that. So there's a reason why the XC60 T8 powertrain is super tempting, especially if you guys, can't decide between going fully electric or going with just a traditional gas powertrain. And I have to say, Volvo has made some very impressive improvements to this vehicle. Even though I don't love the fact that the Polestar engineering does have a little bit of a firmer ride quality, you could, again, just step down to an ultra trim, go for the more comfort-oriented setup. You still get this powertrain with its bonkers acceleration. You won't have quite the same handling dynamics when you don't go for the Polestar engineering. But for those of you who are looking for the sportiest Volvo that you can buy, I mean, if you look at a model that has this Polestar engineering badge, I have to say, if you're an enthusiast, you won't be disappointed with the handling dynamics or the acceleration. And this vehicle, to me, even though it's been on the market for a few years, despite the dated infotainment system, is one of the best looking vehicles you're going to find in this compact luxury performance SUV space. So even though the current generation XC60 is starting to get a little long in the tooth, I actually was surprised when I finally got a chance to spend a full week with the Polestar engineered model, because as you guys saw, this vehicle is kind of the hidden gem within the lineup. There are so many good choices out there in the compact luxury SUV space, but Volvo's XC60 still has some kind of sweet sauce to entice people to go into Volvo showrooms, and that certainly is reflected when you look at the sales figures, because last year here in America, Volvo managed to sell around around 39,700 units in all of 2023. It was actually the best sales year ever for the XC60 ever since this generation came out back in 2018. Really, the only vehicle that outsold it is the XC90, which is also due for a replacement. I just saw the refreshed model in Sweden last month, and Volvo actually sold around 39,900 XC90s, so it only beat out this car by 200 units. So obviously, the XC60 remains a very important model because this is either number 1 or number 2 in terms of bestseller status in a Volvo showroom. And this model, as you guys saw, delivers very startlingly quick acceleration. 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds in Polestar engineered. Drive mode is just absolutely insane. If you guys want to drive it around in pure electric mode, you'll be doing that same task in around 10.5 seconds, which isn't bad. It's quick enough to get you around town to do your daily driving, of course, at lower speeds. But if you guys want to smoke that, pesky sports sedan at the light, this certainly can do so when you put it into that unique Polestar tuned drive mode, which is one of the unique characters. As you guys also saw, the handling dynamics is also surprising. This is definitely a sporty driving vehicle. And if you guys haven't had a chance to drive a sporty Volvo, this will definitely surprise you with the way the steering is tuned, the way the suspension is tuned. The ride is definitely on the firmer side. So if you guys don't necessarily want a stiffer ride, Volvo will happily sell you an ultra trim where you can also get the adaptive air suspension, not available obviously on this model, where it will give you slightly a more comfortable and quieter ride. But for me as an enthusiast, I very much prefer the balance that this car gives you. In terms of the infotainment system, I would love to see Volvo add the new 11.2-inch display that they just introduced in the XC90, but I have a feeling the company is going to be doing something for the XC60. We may eventually see that for the 2026 or 2027 model year, but until then, this is definitely still one of my favorite SUVs out there, especially if you want a plug-in hybrid powertrain. This has the most power, it has among the best range, and it also is among the most fuel efficient while delivering the acceleration performance that you're looking for when you go for a luxury-oriented compact SUV brand name. Now, with all that said, if you guys are looking to put one of these in your driveway, what's it going to cost? Well, the XC60's price has certainly gone up over the years. Basically, if you want to get into a base powertrain, a B5 with all-wheel drive, it'll cost you around $47,000. If you want the T8 powertrain, it's going to cost you an extra $11,000. So around 58 grand to start for the base pure trim, I believe. That actually undercuts its closest rival, the Lexus NX plug-in hybrid, by about $4,000. Lexus has been kind of upping the price of the NX plug-in hybrid over the years, and that starts at like $62,500 versus this car starts at 58 grand. If you also want to look at a Mercedes, there's the GLC 350e, which I haven't had a chance to test out yet. It does have less power and less range versus this model, and it starts at around 59.9. Audi is going to be discontinuing the Q5 plug-in hybrid, which I still haven't had a chance to drive. I would love to see Porsche do a plug-in hybrid version of the Macan, but again, this is definitely a dime in a dozen if you're looking for a compact European luxury SUV with a plug that gives you really good electric-only range and also has really quick acceleration when you put your foot down. My particular test car here, the Polestar engineered version, starts at around 76 grand, so it is the most expensive version, but if you want to go to like an ultra trim without all of the performance and handling upgrades, that'll start at around 69 grand with a couple of options that my test car has. The grand total for this vehicle comes to $77,400. Really, the only upcharge is the $800 for the 22-inch wheels, which I know 77 grand certainly is a lot of money. It's around $10,000 more than an NX 450h Plus with the F Sport package. However, I would argue that the Volvo is definitely more sporty. It's a lot quicker. It delivers similar electric-only range, and I also think it's the better looking vehicle, even though the interior is definitely getting dated. That 9-inch display is on the smaller side, but if you're okay with that, I would happily put one of these vehicles at the very top of your list if you can't decide between going with a gas vehicle and going fully electric, and you don't want to give up that performance when you put your foot down. With all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my latest video here on the 2025 Volvo XC60 Polestar engineered. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.